I'm going to start the servers first, then we'll get into the configuration and the graphs I command stuff. Cool. Okay, let me start the servers. City students online is where Oracle middleware user projects domains in code daemon start admin.
DB also need to be standard.
Yes. Listener starting. Okay, exit. Let's start the source server. Let's start the BAM server. And while this comes up, let's see what we are trying to do. These are our instances. This is the BAM adapter we need to configure. Into the BAM server, we will be importing datasets which came to us in the form of XMLs, and we will be importing the graph definitions again in the form of XMLs that we got. Then we will be logging into the web app and viewing a live graph which was created by an instance through a composite we are deploying. So we are going to deploy a composite here, and we invoke the composite to simulate a live graph. So if you look at the steps, this is what we're going to do. We're going to deploy the BAM adapter. Then we configure the BAM adapter so that it can connect to the ADC. Now if you observe this one, the BAM adapter is on the source server. ADC is on the BAM server, because the adapter itself gets used by the instance on this diagram. Go back to this diagram. The adapter, this is what gets used by the instances. So it goes to the source server. You will target this BAM adapter to the source server. ADC is nothing but your BAM server, a part of a BAM server. So you have to go into the configuration of BAM adapter, tell about the ADC, nothing but the BAM server. Once that is done, yesterday we have seen how the data set can be created, at how the report definition, graph definition can be created. The data set gets created using the architect role, and the graph definition can be created using Active Studio. But there are a lot of other tools like BPA, Business Process Architect, that a business analyst use. They create these data sets and the graphs in a much better tool than Oracle BAM. So once they create it, the XML file they export out of the tool, and we get from the business users these two XML files, the dataset definitions and the graph definitions. Once we get those, they get imported into the BAM server. So we are going to import the dataset, we're going to import the graph definition. And for our demonstration purpose, what I've done was I have manually created that dataset and the graph definition. I've exported out of that one, and we are only going to see the import. If you need to see the export thing, it can be done. It's not that difficult, but import is what we usually do into this BAM server. So let's get on. I'm not really sure in BPA. Business Process Architect itself is a tool, but there is a workflow builder. I think that's the tool they use. Yeah, that's one, workflow builder. Alright, so our BAM server is up. I'm going to get into these steps. So deploy the BAM adapter.rar file. Let's get into the console. Install 2001 console. So here if you say so admin 1 2 3. This is very slow. Okay, so let's get into deployments. Alright, now the BAM adapter, it's unlike UMS. UMS adapter is what we have deployed, but the BAM adapter already comes deployed. This is the UMS adapter that we have deployed, whereas BAM adapter automatic is already available deployed. You see this one, Oracle BAM adapter. This is the adapter. All that we have to do is make sure this is targeted to the right server. So if you click on this one, go into the targets, just make sure it's targeted to server. That's it. So it's already targeted to the servers. So in these steps, so this is actually already done. The second thing you have to do is configure the BAM adapter. Means we have to tell inside the BAM adapter about the details of the ADC. So if you go in there, under deployments, go to the BAM adapter. BAM adapter. Go into the configuration tab here. So click on the configuration tab. Click on outbound connection pools. Here you're going to configure the outbound connection pools. In the outbound connection pool, you will be configuring about ADC. And normally there are two types of the connection pool. Is nothing but it's more like a database connection pool. It basically, if you are when we talk about GMS, we talk about a factory connection factory. If you uh, remember that one. So the connection factory basically allows pooling of the connections. Now there are two types of connection factories available. One is SOAP based and RMI. It's said that the SOAP connection factory is much more reliable than RMI, and as a matter of fact, SOAP internally let's not get into the details of why it's reliable, but the SOAP connection factory is what is more popularly used. But in your case, irrespective of which connection factory needs to be used, you can actually configure both of them so that whatever the developer has used in the composite can be taken care, because we should be using we can use any of these two things pretty much to configure and connect to the ADC. So here if you say this is a type of connection factory and this is one instance of this type. If you see EIS BAM RMI, this is one instance. The same way this is a type and this is one instance. Now looks like the enterprise manager has slight bug in it. The configuration, when we are doing the ADC, you have to do it on 4 different levels here. So if you click on the first line here, you will come across the configuration. You have to configure these things. Host name you have to give, password you have to give, username you have to give of the BAM server. If the port number is different, change the port number. The instance name is going to remain ADC server 1. I don't have to really change it. Now the second thing, if I go back, let me again go into BAM adapter. I'm going to search and go there. BAM. BAM adapter. Configuration, outbound connection. You have to go into the instance of it, click on it, and then give the details. Like this, we have to do it for all the four. Again, see at the BAM adapter. This one, right? Like that. We have to do it for all the four. So I'm going to go into all the four types of. There are only two types of connection factories, but the configuration here seems to be a little bit still buggy. This is the Oracle BAM web app. This is the BAM adapter configuration. So I'm going to do the configuration settings for all the four. So first I'm going to do the connection factory. Host name 192.168.128.6. Now this is just like the EMS configuration. Remember, once you give it, press enter, then save it. Directly do not save it. Those are not getting saved. You need to press enter. So username and password. Username is server admin. Enter. We're going to save later. Password is server admin 123. Enter. So we're going to save all these things. It gets deployed to, saved to the deployment plan. Just use the default one. When you try to use a default one with the configuration, it might throw an error, kind of. It's already used. Just change the name of the plan in that case. You won't be using the deployment plan, but it asks you to do it. Activate the changes. So let's do the same thing for the remaining three also. Select it, click on this, lock and edit. Ideally, you should do the configuration only for the instance. You should not do it for the type of the connection factor itself, not here. So, but still, it's more like a bug here. But unless you do it, it's not going to work. So 6 password admin 123, port number 9001 of our BAM server, username admin. Save it. Now let's do the same things for others also. Go to the BAM adapter. Here. Configuration. Outbound connection poles. Now this one. So we'll be doing it for both of these things. SOAP connection factory and the instance of SOAP connection. So here. Let's do 168.128.6. Enter. Password admin 123. Enter. Username admin. Enter. Save. And last final one. Search for the BAM adapter. Here we are. Go into the adapter, configuration, outbound connection, and the last one. So hostname 192.168.128.6. Enter. Password So admin 123, port number 9001, enter. Username, so admin, enter. Save. So we are done here. Go into deployments and here update the BAM adapter. All these adapter configurations, when you change any configuration, make sure you select that adapter, you update it. I did not put it into the steps, but make sure you do that. I think it's in the material here. In here you should have that adapter updation stuff. Targets. Here I did not enter that one. Make sure you do an update here. Select the BAM adapter. Alright, and do an update the configuration. Finish. Don't have to change any of the settings, just use the default ones, just where. So your ADC related information gets stored. Activate the changes. Alright, so now go back to our steps. So we deployed the BAM adapter, we configured the adapter to connect to the ADC server in one now. Now let's import the dataset definitions. As I said, we have very simple datasets. We have a dataset that gives, let's say, employee name and the department. Using that data, we're going to create certain types of graphs. I'll show you what type of graphs we are creating once we get there. Now the XML files related to these datasets and the graphs, they look like this. This is a data object, employee data object, and this is a data set. Here, yeah, see this one. This is a data object definition. It's a very simple one. See this. The name is employee. That's the name of the data object we are importing. If you see, it has two columns. One is name, other one is department. It's like a table in a database. You got two columns. One is name and department, and these are the values. And this definition, we're going to import it. The same way a graph definition looks something like this. It's a graph definition. It's much more messy somewhat, but this is a graph definition. We'll be importing it. Alright. Here the owner is different. We will see. Maybe it will cause a failure. We will see that one. Our owner is so admin it's going to be, but anyway, when we import it, it should take care of it. Alright, so let's import these two things. So these are the last step 3 and step 4 we're going to do. To do these things, we will be using I command. There is no .sh here, it's I command, that's it. Available under BAM bin of Oracle. So let's go there. I command is pretty simple one, so it's not that complex. So let me set the environment. So go to bin. I'm setting the environment, set domain env. Alright. This is one thing you should do. Make sure you do this dot space. They are sourcing the environment. Dot space set env. Otherwise, these will not be sourced to the current shell. They will be sourced to a child shell. We don't want that. So now, just make sure you have your parameters set, like Oracle Home. That's not set. So Oracle Home. Yeah, this one. So we will be going here. cd so Oracle Home. Our I command is under BAM bin directory. This is the command that we're going to use. Now this will try to connect to the BAM server, do the import export of either datasets or the graph definitions. But when it does it, it looks for the username password to connect to the server, and that username password is stored in the next file called BAM iconfig. This thing, BAM icommand config.xml. It's available just above that bin directory. We have a config directory in that BAM icommand config.xml. It will read that file and try to get the config.xml. So here in the config, this is the file name it will look for. So I just have to take a backup of this one and edit it. Alright, now here you're going to give the details of the BAM server, server name, port number. Alright, and here you have to add couple of parameters that will give the username and password. Now if you go into the material that was given, you're going to add these two parameters: I command default username, I command default password. Alright, these are the two additional things you're going to add, and you will change anything that is necessary, the server name, IP port, and other stuff. So I'm going to do these 4 steps into the BAM command. So here, server name 192.168.128.6, port number is 9001. I already have it. Now I'm going to add those two things here: I command default username, I command default password. Those are the two settings. All initial, all first letters are caps. So I command default username. So give the username admin, close the tag. I command default username. The same way, I command default password. You just have to copy paste it rather than typing it. It's much easier. So admin123, I command default password. That's it. Alright, so once you're given this, you're good to go. Save it, close it. So this file will be read by the I command to connect to the database, to connect to the BAM server. So let's get into the BAM bin. I command. This is the syntax I'm going to use. It has two important parameters. I command. So see this one. What type of an operation we are doing? Either we are exporting or importing. Then it basically goes into command. then what type it is, whether it's a data object or a report, and the corresponding file name. Let me go into the import stuff. Import, let's say for example we are trying to import a data object. I command, we're trying to import it. Now if it already exists, you can overwrite it or you can update it. One of these two are possibilities. Sometimes overwriting may not be allowed, it will throw out an error. In that case, simply say update, and then where you are updating from, your file name. Right now you can actually add a type here, just like for export you have a type. If you see this one here, see this thing, type report or data object, but it doesn't really matter, it will automatically detect. The important ones is what type of operation you are doing, whether you are updating or overwriting something from what file. So let me first import the data object, and then I will import the definition of the graph. First of all, let me transfer those two things. I'm not sure if I have it. I think I have it in the home directory somewhere. And I'll transfer it. Let me transfer it. I have the files out here. These are the files, DO and then dashboard. I'll transfer these two files to our source server. I'm going to use WinSAP to do that. One 192, 168, 128, 6, 59 to 33. These are the things that I'm going to transfer. Let me transfer it to students OLSware. I'll just transfer it here. I'll pick it from there. Copy. Copy. Yeah. So I have it here. These two files. What? I can actually get into the bin directory if I want. Let me move those two Xml files into bin directory here. Okay, so I have this data object, I have the dashboard, both of them. Now I'm going to import it. I command -command is import. Here these things have you can put small letter or capital letter, they are case insensitive kind of, so whatever you choose. -import command, then what we are trying to import is, you can say data set or data object, or you don't have to really say anything, it will automatically detect it. What's important is you say what type of import you are doing. You're either overwriting or updating. Because we don't have anything already, ideally it's an overwrite. And then from the file, this is the file. If the override gives an error, you update it then. Alright, let's run this command. Enter. Why is it asking for the password? It's supposed to pick it up from the Bama command. Okay. Anyway, I'm giving the username password. This is failed. Invalid mode. See this one, this you will see sometimes. Override mode failed. So in that case, update it. So here, -mode update this time. Updation is pretty illogical here because we don't have anything already on the BAM server. So admin 123. This should not ask us for the password. We'll see that. Alright, so you have imported. This is good. Let's go ahead and fix that Bama command thing. What's the problem here? Something is not correct. I'll say username password.
Communication protocol T3 is a default.
Yeah, that's okay. We don't have to worry about that. Let's say I did a copy paste instead of typing it. Let's see. Now let's go to the bin and do the import for the next graph definitions. For this import, I'm going to do a override. So I'll be overwriting a report file, my report. So overwrite or update anything you want. -command is import -mode is update. This is the file you're updating this time. This is a report definition. Yeah, it did not ask us for password this time. I think typing has some issues. This updating is the problem here. This is working logically. Alright. -file a file. Alright, so this is important. Alright, now if you go into the BAM web app, you will actually see these two objects. we will see the dashboard 1 and code IT dashboard 1 imported. We will also see the data object called employee inside the employee test folder. So we will log into the BAM web app and we will see these two things, and then we will deploy a composite. We simulate it. So let's launch the Internet Explorer to get into the BAM web app. Let's do 168.128.6 9001 Oracle BAM. Alright, so here go into compatibility settings, alt tools. It's already in compatibility, so go ahead. SYA admin 123. Alright, here if you go into the architect, you will see the data object that we have imported. You see, we have imported into employee test that was created, and this is the data object employee. I see these things. This is employee test employee. If you look at the layout, it will give you the structure. There is a name, there is a department. This is what we have actually seen in the XML file. You can edit the layout here, alright, if you want, or if there is a manual need for editing sometimes. This is architect and this is what we have deployed. The same way, the graph definition can be seen in the Active Studio here. So go into Active Studio. So if you look into the reports, you see this is the report we have imported. Alright, we can create reports here, similar reports, or we have imported this one. We will be viewing this report using BAM Active Viewer. Studio is for creation of the reports. We'll be doing viewer to view it. So click on Active Viewer, select the report. This is the report we want to view. Now it's a very simple report. What it does is employees versus departments. That's the data we are getting. We are depicting the data in various ways. There are going to be bar charts here that will tell how many employees per each department. A similar information is also displayed here on the left side in a pie chart. On the right side, each employee name that comes into the ADC gets listed here. It's a very simple graph. A graph can be made much more complex with the same data. The data is same in all these three types of graphs. We are only changing the way we depict it. But to actually see a live graph, I'm going to simulate one. So I will deploy an application which will send these two details, means employee name and the department. Using BAM adapter, it sends it to the ADC. So inside the composite that I'm going to deploy, this is the composite we're going to deploy. You see a BAM example. This is designed to send the data into ADC using the adapter. It has what are called sensors inside it. The sensors, they get created during composite development. A sensor can send the data into the ADC using the BAM adapter. So I'm going to deploy this application, this composite, and we simulate the load. Enterprise Manager. Alright. So admin 1, 2, 3. This is taking too long. I think the server is overloaded. One database and 3 JVMs. Load is 7. It's pretty overloaded. So here we go. Let's deploy a composite. So deployments, server infrastructure. Click on it. So infrastructure, deployment, deploy. Let's deploy the composite. I'll upload this composite also to our server so that you can do the testing. Next. Target it to default. Move on to next. deploy. Okay. Alright, so your composite is ready. This is the BAM example. We're going to test it. When we invoke the instance of this composite is designed to take two inputs, name and the department. Alright, it's also designed to send this information into the ADC. So when I change something here, or when I do a test, ideally it should get updated in my BAM dashboard automatically. So let me send out something here. Let's say instead of departments, let's say we convert into a much more interesting interests. Means somebody uh, you know a name Sachin with an interest, let's say cricket. Instead of name and department, I'm simply saying name and the interest Sachin in cricket department. Now test the web service. We're not interested in the instance composite at this point. We're more interested in whether the graph gets updated. If everything is good, it should get updated. While you are doing this, you can actually look at the log file. If there are any errors, you will see it in the log file. Or else, let's see. It's auto refresh thing. You don't have to refresh it manually. If it is not getting refreshed, we may have to look at the log file to see what the problem is. Let's look at the log file. It usually takes little time because the server is loaded here. Daemon less the BAM log file. BAM underscore. I go to the end of the file. Everything seems to be good. You don't see any errors. Ideally, you should get that here. Should be fine. Or let's look at the source server log also. See if it's able to send it or not. Here also no errors. So it pretty much loaded. So yeah, here we got. You see that it's getting updated here. Cricket. Now this is so the graph is working. Now you see this one. This is a bar chart. It says how many employees are there in this department, cricket department. The same thing is depicted in a pie chart, and then there is a streaming list details cricket such. Now the same thing I'm going to simulate it at a much larger load, just to give you a dynamic view of how a business graph would change dynamically. Now to do that, I'm going to do the same testing, but a much of stress test kind of thing. So in the BAM example, go to the composite. Now instead of one run, let's do a simple load test kind of thing. So go into testing. In the enterprise manager, you have an option to do stress test, which is this one. Additional test options, go in there. Perform a stress test. So enable stress test, you will run 5 concurrent threads, each goes into 10 loops with a delay of, if not 1000, let's make it 3000. Alright, and also I'm going to do it for multiple departments. Now we have, for Sachin, let's say, put somebody else, Kohli or somebody. So for cricket, now like this I'm going to do for 5 different departments. So I'll open 5 tabs. The 4th tab, copy paste it. So all the 5 tabs and 1 department do the stress test, and we get into that graph thing. Just to give you an idea, real-time graph would change. This is pretty much overloaded. We're going to have problems during clustering OSB. I think in the upcoming sessions I will be moving the database out of the cloud server into another server here. So we'll be spreading across into different boxes. Database, most likely I'll move it out of the cloud server. Oops. Okay. I think we'll do it for 1. The server is not responding, so I closed the other sessions. I'm trying to do it only on two instances. Is the first stress test. Alright, we're going to on the second line. Also, we're trying to do something. This is our graph. Should ideally get updated because we're already running the test. Here, do the testing for the second one. This is the first one. What's going on? First one. The graph. Let's look at the graph. We want it dynamically updated. Data is streaming in now. This pie chart here, it's I think the logic is wrong here. It's supposed to show percentages usually, but it shows the numbers. The logic of creating the graph was wrong. It's getting updated. Okay, let's start a second test also. So here, stress test, concurrent threads. I'll reduce the concurrent threads just to reduce the load. 1 loops, I will increase it to 50. Delay is 3. So that way we have a much longer test going on. And let's say instead of cricket we choose something else like movies. Shah Rukh Khan movies. Test it. This has started and here it's still going on. So if we look at the graph, we should get two types of employees in two different departments. One is in cricket, other one is movies. They should get updated. The second one should come up. Second one is in. The pie chart got updated. The bar chart is yet to get updated. The bar chart. The second test is much slower. Here we go. The movies thing has come in here, the streaming Shah Rukh Khan. So the graph basically gives you an idea. This is just for the sake of representing it. But BAM can give you a live, updated, dynamically changing graphs of your business. Whenever the state of the instance changes or something happens in the instance can be designed to send the data into the BAM, and you can have the reports to show you how your business is doing at any point of time. Alright, that's a BAM, and from a BAM perspective, most of the times you will be doing the export import after the configuration. That's it. The adapter configuration is a one-time activity. Once you configure the adapter, you might have, during every deployment, you might have certain graphs that you need to import into your BAM server. And you might also have problems with the business users complaining that the BAM reports are not getting updated. That means they're not seeing this live graph. This was a problem reported by many people. So in that case, the only solution seems to be bouncing the BAM server. You bounce the BAM server, usually it takes care of the problem. And that's another problem you will come across. That's all the BAM. I think we'll stop it here for today. Tomorrow we'll be continuing with OHS integration, Oracle HTTP server and web cache. Then if possible we'll get into OSB also. If you have any questions, let me know.